CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.
Hello, wrestling fans and sports card collectors. This is Tom from CollectAWrestlePalooza. Today I'm counting down the top 5 prices paid for collectibles of the dead man himself, the Reaper from Death Valley, WWE Hall of Famer, and WrestleMania legend, The Undertaker. Let's start with the criteria for this video. For a price to be included in the top 5 list, it has to be an eBay auction. I like to look only at auctions because I feel that represents the true market for collectibles, and there's no bigger auction house than eBay. I do my best to only look at legitimate sales to real eBay accounts. Second, I am filtering only auctions that include the search term Undertaker. Third, since I compiled this list today, the sales I am including are recent. They are from May, June, July, or August of this year. And finally, I am not including any redemption cards or autographs in this list, as those are kind of their own category and would dominate the top 5 if I included them. If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you've been here before, I'm really glad you decided to come back. Thank you. I want to mention I have an eBay store with hundreds of fresh wrestling collectibles. If you decide to check it out and find something you like, you might consider becoming a Patreon member before you click buy it now. For as little as $5 a month, you can get 10% off everything in the CollectAWrestlePalooza eBay store every day. It might even work in your favor to join the Patreon community depending on how much your purchase is. Links in the video notes for all that stuff. And let's get started with an honorable mention. This sale actually sparked me compiling this top 5 list. It just missed cracking the top 5, but I wanted to include it anyway. The 1991 Merlin Undertaker rookie in a PSA 10 sold at auction just a few days ago for $460. The hobby tends to consider the 1991 classic number 64 Undertaker card as the definitive rookie, but this Italian Undertaker card actually has a lower pop count. To date, 8 1991 classics have achieved a perfect 10 grade from PSA, and only 5 Italian number 30s. Now you can say it's much harder to get a good grade on the 91 Classic, but there are so many more of them out there. I have boxes of sealed 91 Classic in my display case, but only a few sealed Merlin packs. Also, I think the 91 Merlins are cooler. I love the photography, I love the size, I love the border. So I'm glad that PSA 10s are starting to hit the market and gain some momentum. It's important to get comps out there so we can talk about the value of these cards in a real way. I would expect prices to only go up from here on these rare rookie cards of the Phenom. I've graded a few pack fresh Merlins myself, and to date the best grade I've gotten is an 8 or 9. So if wrestling cards as a hobby continue to gain value, it would seem more and more people would grade their pack fresh 91 classics, and the PSA pop count on that rookie would keep going up, even if it is harder to grade. But the population of the Merlins may not go up as fast. And remember, The Undertaker is arguably one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, and he is from the 90s. 1980s collectibles will hit the 50-year mark in only 5 or 10 years, and 90s collectibles will be right behind them. I'm not an expert and would never suggest buying to invest, but I can think of worse things to have in your collection than a PSA 10 rookie of a sports GOAT with a pop 5 for under $500. Do you agree? Leave a comment and share your thoughts with the community. Now, the official list. Coming in at number 5 is one of the coolest Hasbro WWF action figures out there, a rare Series 8 carded Undertaker with his cloak, which sold at auction for $530. There are a few versions of the Hasbro Undertaker. This is not his first nor his rookie, but it is one of the rarest. By Series 8, Hasbro had stopped producing these figures in great quantities. Also, this one has the cloak accessory, which other versions of The Undertaker did not. There are a few Grail figures from this series, including a mail-away and a version distributed by another toy company. More about that later in the video. But outside of those mostly unattainable Undertaker figures, as I stated, this is one of the best. As you can see from the card back, Series 8 did not have that many superstars included. Yokozuna has a figure, as does Lex Luger, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, and Bam Bam Bigelow, but that's about it. The truth is, and hard to imagine today, but the Federation was starting to struggle during this time. Hogan was no longer the perennial cash grab, and no one stepped up to carry that torch in any real way. So I like to collect memorabilia from 1991 through 1994 because they didn't make as much of it. The Federation and its merchandise division, of course, exploded in 1995 and 96 when Stone Cold Steve Austin burst on the scene and made wrestling merch cool again. Coming in at number 4 is a 2023 Panini Impeccable 1-of-1 Undertaker card that sold in raw condition at auction for $701. This is a cool looking card. The blood red background splashed behind the looming dead man is menacing indeed. Panini Impeccables are important looking cards. The clean white surface with the teal pinstripe is nice, but I must admit the blue and red visually clash a little too much for me on this one. Despite that small critique, the photograph screams legend, and of course this is a 1-of-1, which is why it appears on this list. My other small critique is the paragraph on the back of the card does not mention a specific achievement or event, which in the case of The Undertaker would be warranted. Instead, it mentions the dead man sitting up and rising from the mat. I wish then the photo showed the same thing. Viewers, am I being too picky? Leave a comment and let me know. Don't get me wrong, this is a great card. I'm just pointing out a few details. Let me know what you think. Coming in at number 3 is another great-looking card, a 2023 Panini Prizm Color Blast of The Undertaker, sold in a PSA 10 for $705. Now this is a nice card. Visually, I love it. Color blasts are cool designs, but too often the colors make no sense to the superstar depicted. In this case, The Undertaker screams ultramarine blue and violet. It makes sense, like a color match. He used to wear purple gloves and had violet boot covers, and the picture is amazing. Undertaker's outstretched hand gripping towards the heavens with his sweaty red locks covering his pale face is classic. He's down on one knee. In the old days, he would hold his urn in this fashion, as that object held the mystical powers of The Undertaker. The only way to steal those powers was to steal the urn. It was a great gimmick, but as his career grew, he transcended the urn, and his powers became more universal. Look at how his body is cocked back at an angle away from his hand. It is as if he reveres the power he beholds. This is professional wrestling theater, and no one nailed his performances better than the dead man. So I want to talk about number 2 on this list. This sale was labeled as a 1991 Funskool loose Undertaker figure, and it sold at auction for $741. I think it's a legitimate Funskool figure, but how can we know for sure? It looks exactly the same as the Hasbro version, and the copyright on the superstar's rear end shows 1991 Hasbro. Here's the story. Funskool is an Indian toy company that is still in business today. You can view their website and see they make toys for infants, but also knockoff products like Fundo, which is just like Play-Doh, and a Rubik's Cube. In 1991, they made a version of The Undertaker and a few other Hasbro figures as well. Don't quote me on this, but I think they obtained the molds from Hasbro, which is why the copyright is the same, but the overall quality of the paint and the plastic is inferior. It is almost impossible to find carded Funskool WWF figures, but if you can find the card back, it's pretty flimsy. It's almost like a cardstock as opposed to a cardboard. If you played with the Hasbro WWF figures as a kid, you know they could take a beating with almost no paint loss. But look at this Undertaker. You can see his gloves are already worn away in the fingers, and also where he would punch. And finally, the face looks different on the Funskool version. His beard and hair are more brown than red, and he has less black around his eyes. All that said, this appears to be an authentic Funskool figure. It also shipped from a seller in India, adding to the authenticity of the story. Viewers, do you have any additional information on the Funskool action figure? Did I get that mostly right? Leave comments and help us learn if you have more information on these ultra-rare figures. And coming in at number 1 is a product category we almost never see on our top 5 lists: authentic licensed championship belts. This official belt was sold on WWE.com only 5 years ago, but sold at auction recently for an amazing $3,051. Does anyone know the original price from WWE.com? Is this a huge increase in value? The label sewed on the back of the belt calls it a Signature Series Championship belt. I imagine there are others out there too from other superstars, and I don't know much about the product line. I like the custom casket carrying case, that's a nice touch. The front of the belt, I could go either way. It says taking souls, digging holes, has the Ministry of Darkness insignia. The Phenom is chiseled across the front, and the funeral-style font shows the legend's name, The Undertaker, across the top. It appears to be a high-quality item, and I wonder if it was created in a limited quantity. This is the first one I've ever seen, though I must admit I've never looked until now. So I just did a Google search, and there are a bunch of similar belts listed for a couple $100 each, and some of them say replica, which makes me think almost all of them are replicas, and getting an authentic one is hard to find, hence this one selling for more than $3,000. Viewers, am I correct? Leave a comment and let me know. So that does it for this week. What is your favorite Undertaker collectible? Stay good to each other. We'll see you again soon.
CollectAWrestlePalooza. CollectAWrestlePalooza.